Next, we will take a look at using the semi-structured interview as a method of evaluation. In a semi-structured interview, it combines a predetermined set of questions with the chance for you to explore themes or responses of the participant in further detail. So you will create a list of questions, a script, very similar to what one would do with a focus group, and then follow that script. And this gives you the chance to explore some themes. And the reason why you will want to use a predetermined set of open questions is so that you can compare and contrast responses among your participants. If you, for example, just let a participant talk without any sort of guidance, then you may have totally different information from one than you do from another, and you won't have a way to compare. This is why it's a semi-structured interview, because you have a set group of questions you are using. This does not limit your respondents to a set of predetermined answers. It's just that you are guiding the interview. You can use this to understand how interventions work and how they could be improved, how programs work, how training works. It also allows respondents to discuss and raise issues that you may not have previously considered. There are a few advantages of using interviews. They can provide valuable information, again, from the context of the participant and stakeholders' experiences. And the fact that you're using a set of predetermined questions, a script, helps provide some uniformity to your data. There are a few disadvantages as well. It can be time-consuming to collect and to analyze this data. I tend to allow approximately an hour for an interview, and then it usually takes me anywhere from 3 to 4 hours to transcribe all of the interview, because I tend to do an audio recording, try to transcribe it the same day, and then as I'm collecting interviews, I analyze as I go. And this can be very time-consuming when you think about a survey that you may do online and you download the responses and it's pretty much calculated within 15 minutes. It also requires some level of training on the part of the interviewer to make sure that you don't suggest answers. You don't want to lead the participant. And there is a checklist of things that you can do to get ready. Obviously, the first is to prepare for the interview. Decide what you're going to ask and write that out along with all of your prompts. You will want to inform the respondent about the reason behind your questions. Why are you doing this? Such as giving them a chance to give you input to improve the program. You want to talk with them about recording answers, which means you need to make sure that you can record answers in some method. You want to develop a rapport with each respondent who comes in. You also want to ask questions that lead to detailed answers. So these will have to be open-ended questions, not yes/no questions. And you need to know when to end the interview. What is the appropriate time? It's good to have a set of interview questions at hand, but you also need to be prepared to expand or probe on your predetermined questions as the need arises. And that's the essence of doing a qualitative interview. So don't feel so tied to that interview guide that you're hesitant to ask another question. I tend to ask the question, note that I've asked it, and then see if that's appropriate to add to the guide for later. So one question you might ask would be, how did you find out about this program? What is your involvement in this program? What are the strengths and weaknesses of the program? How has this program changed the way you live or your employment or the way you teach? How do you use this new information, or how do you use these new skills? What are some problems that remain to you being able to implement these ideas or to use the information? For example, I attend a lot of professional development trainings and try to learn as much as I can about technology. And I will attend a training and it looks like a really good idea, something I'd really like to do, and I come back and it's just not going to work with the technology I have here or with my own time frame. And so this is a chance for you to find out what are some things that will keep them from actually using some of the information that they've learned from your program. And that's very important for you to know. Ask them, how would other people benefit from this program? What other types of programs should be implemented to build on this one? I also tend to ask them, would you recommend this program to others? And if so, why or why not? If they'll recommend the program, then you know you have a good program. If they won't recommend it, you know you need to make changes. All right, the next step is the idea of analysis and making sense of the data. So you will want to ensure that you organize and manage your responses. It is very important to have good data collection and management processes in place to be able to store, retrieve, and analyze your data. You want to consider giving unique identifiers to your respondents and their transcripts or notes in a spreadsheet. And this way you are not attaching their responses to their name. So this is an issue of ethics in research. You would enter their details and consider developing codes that you could use to maybe categorize your respondents by demographic or attitude traits to help you with future data analysis. You want to identify and interpret common, recurrent, and emergent themes. Once you have transcribed all of the interviews or written up your notes, you will want to review the data to identify common, recurrent, or emerging themes. It's a good idea for you to have a second person also review these transcripts or notes to bring a fresh perspective, as this would confirm the themes you've identified, could lead to new themes, or to discussion as to the interpretation of the information. This could be where you also decide to discard information that does not relate to the questions that you want to answer. You would identify relevant themes and their codes. Next, you would enter responses and code the data. I tend to do this in a variety of ways. I like to use Excel, but I also like to use Word. So it just depends on kind of the way I'm feeling at that point and how many participants worth of data I'm dealing with. I'll tend to set it up in a table in Word because I can go through and search that later for various themes and rearrange, and you can do the same in Excel. You can enter responses based on a question number or a question identifier. It's best to enter one theme per line to help with your coding, especially if respondents had both positive and negative responses to a question. To analyze the data you collect, you will need to code the responses based on themes. You may have broad themes such as workshops, or subcategories within themes such as workshop speaker, workshop handouts. You may also want to code responses into whether they were positive or negative with regards to the project. Your next step is that of analyzing patterns amongst the themes. So you want to see if there are similar traits between respondents who present the same themes. This is why we keep track of gender, age, involvement, a variety of demographics. You can do this by sorting columns by question number or respondent or response codes. You may want to see if there are demographic items such as age, gender, household size, income, or pre-existing knowledge and attitude traits that lead to recurring themes. So analyze patterns to allow the evaluation to move from a more descriptive role to one of analyzing. And then you will present your evaluation of all of this data. And you would present the results by identifying the patterns, what this means for the project, for your program, for your workshop, your professional development, and what can be done to improve or build upon these responses. And it's always good to use quotations from respondents to support your analysis. If you have any questions about using semi-structured interviews or analyzing the data, please let me know and I'll be happy to work with you on them. That's it for now.